Today's video, we're going to be removing the engine. I'm going to be starting with removing all the ancillary parts so it's easy to do. This is the 1.6 diesel engine in the Mark 6 Fiesta. I'm removing this engine without an engine crane, so stick around to the end of the video to see how we did it. The mounting area for all Fiesta Mark 6 engines is pretty much the same, just the removal process can differ for pipes and that. The first step is to remove the front radiator shroud, and I already have a video on my channel and the link is in the description. First of all, I'm removing the boost hoses off the engine. There is this lower one, this top one, and the one on the turbo. I can then remove all these pipes out of the way. Next is the exhaust. Mine is already disattached underneath, but you can just do it from the top here and then take it off on underneath. And there's this one final boost hose. Next I'm removing the intake filter. And then I'm removing the battery. I have got another video on the channel showing you how to do this, because then you have to remove the lower battery tray. I'm removing the coolant and expansion tank. All the coolant has been drained. If you've watched the video on how to remove the front shroud, you'll know that this is already done. We're now going to support the engine on the jack with a plank of wood underneath. This spreads the load across the gearbox and the engine so you don't punch a hole in the sump and put oil everywhere. Now we can begin undoing some of the ancillary lines. These are the two coolant lines that go into the back of the heater matrix inside the engine. I'm just going to crack off all the bolts that hold the engine mount on. These should be a 13mm. And be very careful as the old parts can be crusty. Next we're having to remove this fuel filter housing thing. Not quite sure what this is on the engine. It's something to do with the fuel, so be careful because diesel can spit out. Luckily I have drained the fuel before doing this. Also, if you open the fuel tank filler, it relieves the pressure from the lines, so you won't get so much spill, but you are going to spill some diesel. And it stinks. If you've ever got diesel in your hands, you'll know it absolutely stinks. Next, I'm just removing a few of the connectors around the engine. This just allows us to maneuver the wiring harness a bit more easily. And now we have to remove the gear linkage. Again, I've got a video on the channel on doing my clutch line. You'll probably have seen how to do this, so a link for that video is in the description if you want a more in-depth bit on this part of the video. But the main thing is to remove this plastic cover on the gearbox. And these two linkages are literally just a twist and pull out of their mounting areas. You can see what I'm doing there. They just pull out of the mount. And then you have to remove the bottom part from the linkage arm itself. These should just pull off, but you may need to use pliers as obviously over the years they can get really crusty and stuck on there, but they do just come off like that. Then we have to remove, if you've got power steering, this power steering mount on top of the gearbox. Again, this is just a single 15mm bolt. It was a little bit hard to get to, but you can do it with a ratchet spanner. And then we're just going to remove the ECU out of the way. We're not going to unplug it completely, we're just going to move it out of the way so we can get more access to all this wiring underneath the battery tray compartment, because whoever designed the wiring harness on this car was useless at it. And then we're just going to loosen off the gearbox mount. And then I'm just going to loosen off the engine mounts finally, make sure the engine is jacked up completely on the jack and that's supporting the weight of the engine. Okay, so now we're going to go for attempt 1 at dropping the engine out. I've got my uncle helping me lever it off the engine mount as I drop on the jack. And as you can see, something still isn't quite right. So, pulling back and having a look, and we've completely forgotten to undo the lower gearbox mount, as shown on screen here. Right, now we're going to go for attempt number 2. And there we go, that dropped a little bit further that time. We're going to wiggle the engine around a bit. Still caught on something. This is getting really annoying. Couldn't really see what it was. Something definitely on the gearbox side. I've taken the mount completely out. This allows us to have a little bit more room, and then we discovered that the clutch line was still in place. So again, another line that's going to piss fluid everywhere over the engine bay. Once that was out, we were then able to wiggle it a little bit more. The only thing we found might be holding you back a little bit is if there's a couple of earth straps around near the battery side of the engine bay, which you may just have to remove, but we ended up cutting because the bolts were so rusty they snapped anyway. And once we wiggled it and moved it around a little bit, we found that we were able just to pull the engine forward. It's a little bit hard on the jack. Obviously if you had a crane you'd be able to lift it completely forward. This is just rolling on the jack on the driveway, and there you go, it is pretty much out of the car now. So what we're going to do, we're just going to pull the rest of the engine all the way out, just to let us get in behind all the wiring harness, which we've already disconnected. And that's the engine out on the jack. We've got it up on some wooden blocks to hold it in place, and here's the engine bay, completely stripped of all of its wiring and engine. And then we're going to pop the drive shafts out of the gearbox. Make sure you put a rag in because this makes some real mucky mess. And then we're going to detach the gearbox from the engine. It's just all the bolts around the bell housing area, and the starter motor obviously that sits on the flywheel on the right hand side. And then once we've done that, we're able to crowbar off the gearbox and pull it off the engine. Simple as that. And the gearboxes on these aren't too heavy, you can just lift them off by hand. Obviously be careful that the engine has to be supported. And this is how we're getting it without an engine crane. We're using a sack barrow. Really good idea this, where we're just to put the sack barrow underneath the plank of wood and just tilt the engine back onto it. We didn't actually need to ratchet strap it to it in the end because it actually sat quite nicely. You can see we're using the back side of the engine because we'd left the turbo and the alternator on the front, and it made it a bit awkward to maneuver into the garage. And there we go, that is the engine out, and it's in my garage now, ready for storage, prep. Don't know what I'm going to do with this engine in the end, but that's basically what we're done with it. So guys, that is it. The engine is out, it's here in my garage, and I've got to admit, it wasn't the hardest thing to do in the world. Like I said, you've got the videos of my past videos, basically, of me showing you how to remove the front crash bar. I'd say that's probably one of the more involved parts of it, really, draining all the coolant out, because the actual engine taken out, I didn't think it was too difficult. Obviously, you've got like the main engine mount and the gearbox mount and the lower one, obviously, that we forgot. But the wiring loom detaches from the battery side. There's like a little black square junction box thing that sort of pulls out. And the rest of it really is just like ancillary hoses and pipes you just got to pull off, like all the diesel stuff. And like I said, you know, be careful with the diesel. But other than that, it's a really sort of simple little engine. It doesn't weigh too much, I find, as well. It was all right on this like sack barrow we got here. Obviously, I mean, you need quite a bit of force to move it, but it's not too big of a lump. It didn't really need an engine crane. I mean, to move it around now, I'd need an engine crane, but to get it out of the car wasn't really needed. So get yourself one of them if you can. But like I said, we were able to move it on the jack as well. So, but it's up to you guys, you know, if you are doing this job. And I'm assuming that all the different engines are different in their attachment to the actual like pipes and hoses. But I'm pretty sure all the engines, even the ST, have the same sort of engine mount and location. The gearbox mount, I think, is the same on all of them. And the rear lower one is pretty much the same. Probably the designs are different, but they're all in the same space. Apart from that, it's really simple. So that brings me to the end of the video anyway. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've liked it, guys. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. Comment, leave me a comment if you're doing this yourself. And as always, guys, keep enjoying those crusty, rusty, modified cars that you can't help but take apart and fix. And I will see you in my next video.